August 24th, 2021, and by God, things aren't looking good for the wokies anywhere, are they? Some military commanders in the United States are saying, okay, we don't need to bother impeaching Biden. We can just court-martial him. He's the leader of the American military, and he just committed the biggest blunder in American military history, and they're saying it's dangerous to leave him in charge. He has to be court-martialed. So if he's court-martialed, does that mean that he can no longer be president of the United States? I don't know. Closer to home, things aren't looking great for the Liberals because of a number of things, actually. Twitter, who we normally associate with more left-wing attitudes, has come out and said that the Liberal Party deceptively edited a video of a conversation between Aaron O'Toole and I believe it was some media personality. So Twitter said, warning, this video is edited. And basically what it was is they edited it to appear that that Aaron O'Toole was in favor of privatizing the Canadian medical system. And he's not. He's in favor of having a mixed system where I think, honestly, the rich can pay, and there's still a system that's federally financed, provincially financed, where people with less money can go and see a doctor. He's offering to increase payments to the provinces for medical care. And this was pointed out on Twitter, and the Liberal Party found out about this, and they continued to lie about it anyway. When Trudeau was asked, what he said was, no, we showed the whole thing. Well, that's probably true. If you click 35 times, you probably find that yes, indeed, they did do that. But it doesn't really make that much difference because it was deceptively edited to look as though Aaron O'Toole had a position that Aaron O'Toole doesn't have. Maybe some people will say this is the thin edge of the wedge, and if wealthy people start paying for their own, I think probably specialized medical care, then they'll be less willing to pay taxes into the collective system. And there might be something to that. But if the Liberals wanted to make that argument, they should have just made that argument instead of lying about it. And then the other issue right now is freedom of conscience. Doctors want to have the right to say, no, I don't think that this abortion is appropriate for you. I don't think that euthanasia is appropriate in this case. And I don't think that gender reassignment is appropriate here. And that'll be the case in which they're most often correct. Because most kids change their mind about gender reassignment surgery. So Trudeau got all emotional about it, oh my God, it's incredible. Aaron O'Toole doesn't understand pro-choice. Pro-choice means it's the woman's right. So we're back onto the emotion or the abortion thing now. Okay, so I suppose if it wasn't so easy to get an abortion in Canada right now, then that argument might make a little bit of sense. But there's likely, and it might even make sense in smaller communities too, I guess. And Aaron O'Toole has wound it back again and said, okay, if you're not willing to provide the euthanasia or gender reassignment surgery or abortion, you have to refer them to somebody that will. That's not good enough either. You just have to refer them to someone that considers this kind of thing. Especially with the gender reassignment thing, because if you have a series of doctors saying, no, I don't think gender reassignment is appropriate in this situation, there's a very good likelihood that it's not appropriate in this situation. Which I don't think that doctors are even allowed to argue that. I don't think so. When I looked at the laws, doctors aren't allowed to make that argument, and now they're going to be forced to perform surgeries that they don't want to do. Wow. So we can list freedom of conscience is another democratic right that the liberals have violated. There is already one other one when he wanted to. What was the thing? Oh, he wanted everyone to say that their core mandate was to ensure that transgender people and probably gay people or whatever. They wanted companies to say our core mandate is to push that agenda, essentially. Well, actually, a company's core agenda is about making money. That was where it got stuck up, and it was decided in a court of law that he had violated freedom of conscience with that thing. So it's not just me saying that. So Canada is so goddamn polite, and this is in a way a wonderful thing because we don't want to make people feel bad, but there's some questions that really need to be asked, and I don't see Aaron O'Toole asking these questions either. So, Justin, do you intend to, with all these, we're going to have another refugee rush. That's what's going to happen. It happened before. The experts said it was a bad idea because we couldn't accommodate them. There's going to be another one, and this situation isn't that all that different from what happened in Iraq and Syria. This is what it's like in the Muslim world, unfortunately. So, are we going to accept refugees from every single Muslim country? It'd be nice. But in the last refugee rush, what he said is, no, the government should take over sponsorship, and we're not going to rely so much on... it was mostly churches, I think, to sponsor people. It's a bad idea. People don't integrate as well. They don't feel a sense of belonging as well as when they get in. But they wanted to stick them on the government tab because that gave them more power over absolutely everything. How are they being screened? We should literally just want to know that. We don't know how many of them were terrorists. Wouldn't it make sense if you were a terrorist to sneak on a plane and get to Canada this way? Or to get to any Western country this way? My guess is it's going to be corrupt, elite military people that are going to make it. A lot of them are going to be corrupt military. Just because they're corrupt military doesn't mean that they don't agree with Sharia law. The best bet for Canada is to accept as many females as possible, which is what they did in the original situation. They said they're not going to bring any single men. And back then, I guess it was safe to say, well, why don't you want to bring in single men? Well, because they're dangerous. I don't know that Canada's going to mess this up. They'll probably bring in more women anyway. Okay, the other thing is what came out in the last one is if you actually want to help those people, you can help them a lot more efficiently by sending them to refugee camps in the Middle East. If you're going to spend $10 billion on refugees, then you can help more refugees if you put them in refugee camps than by bringing them to Canada. You bring them here, they're going to have a hard time integrating, and they might pose a threat to women and to gay people. Nobody's asked that. It's weird. I mean, this argument is so old, and people have been asking this for a long time. So why don't they complain? And what I heard a long time ago was that the reason they don't complain is because when feminists first sought support from the Muslim world said, okay, we'll work with you on the feminism thing, but don't criticize Islam. Oh, this is an interesting thing. apparently there's a tribe in. I said earlier that there was 120 tribes. That's not right. I got that from a map of really specific ethnicities or something. I think it's around 15 different ethnicities. Although I'm sure that there's smaller things that you would probably consider tribes that have control over a certain given area. That's what happens in Afghanistan. It's so mountainous. People are so separate that you get little warlords, people growing opium, poppies to make opium. Okay, so there's a group in Afghanistan that's called Kafirs. A Kafir is a person that Muslims don't like. A Kafir. And they're Kafirs. And they're white. So and they claim to be Greek. Greeks, Persians, Hindus, they've all been in and out of Afghanistan. It's fascinating history, actually. But there's a group in there called Kafirs, and I wonder if they aren't signaled out, partly because they're called Kafirs, and partly because they're white. So last time Trudeau said, oh no, we're not going to make any distinction between one religion and another, and that was so disgusting that anybody should suggest that. And he really dragged his feet on bringing in Yazidi girls. I do have a pause function. Should learn to use it. A little while ago, they were saying that what we needed was she recovery from a she session. We don't need a recovery from a recession. We need a she recovery from a she session. She sells seashells by the sea. Just kind of reminds you of that. And I can't imagine that they would have thought, okay, like people aren't going to think, are you having another we prefer to say mankind moment there, Justin, or what's happening? I don't believe that they're that stupid. I think that what they're doing is, this is maybe crediting them with more intelligence than they actually have. But in reality, really stupid things are easier to remember. And so they would just calculate that. Okay, this is an absolutely stupid thing, and so it's easier to remember. But what signal does it send? The signal that it sends is that we're going to be pushing more money in the direction of women. I think that women probably did do a little bit worse, but certainly not if they're employed by any level of government. Right? And that's how it works. Most government employees, I think maybe at the municipal level this might be different, but women dominate government positions. They, Still no mention of the fact that the FBI found no evidence of anybody getting together and deciding that they wanted to take over the government of the United States. And so I'm going, how can that not be news everywhere? And I think that if, in terms of the left-wing media, you have to understand that they're okay with lying as long as it promotes what they think is a socially constructive agenda. So all of this stuff happened, and if at the end we've got the sense that white supremacists are dangerous, Donald Trump is dangerous, etc., then that's okay. That white people evil, all that stuff. As long as we can say that, as long as we can fashion history so that it makes that claim, especially to make Trump look bad, then we'll go ahead and do it. And when I consulted my right-wing people, what they said was, that was obviously not an insurrection from the beginning. So this is no news. But it is news, dummies, that the FBI admitted it. Good Lord, you guys are dumb.